Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host Zahra Pedersen, and in today's episode we're going to talk about your environment. We're going to talk about how your environment is keeping you stuck and why you need to change it up. You need to declutter, you need to remove certain things, you need to refurbish, you need to move house. You need to move to a different country. Like, we need to talk about these things. We need to talk about your friends. We need to talk about the stuff you own. We need to talk about the changing of your routine, things like this. This is going to be a very important episode for you if you're feeling stuck, okay? Because if you've read my book, which, by the way, girlies, Manifesting Muslimah, the 7-step guide to using law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. If you haven't, go click the link everywhere that I've got a link and get the book. It's literally the guide on how to use law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, and it's like 7 steps. It's very easy to get through. There's lots of gold in there, and literally it just breaks it all down for you. Okay, enough of that little call to action, getting back to it. But in that book, in one of those steps, I talk about clearing the resistance. That is basically what your environment can be for you and is for most of us. And we don't even recognize it because most of us live in resistance so much that we're used to it. We don't even recognize that we're in resistance when we're literally experiencing it until somebody else comes up and tells us, hey, by the way, feels like there's an easier way to do things, or it feels like it would make more sense for you to do this, that, and the other, or if you got rid of this, or if you did that, or whatever. But because we're so used to living in resistance, for many of us, we can kind of get blinded by it. You know, what's that? There's that saying, can't see the forest for all the trees, or something like that. I don't know, something to that effect. You know exactly what I mean. When you're so in it, you're living in the resistance that it just feels normal. It's just oh, isn't that just a normal thing? It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. So this is as I said, something that a lot of us experience. We don't even know it. So I'm about to say some things, and hopefully it can start you on a journey to look at your environment, look at everything, take stock of what's going on in your life and where you're experiencing certain things that could be feeding into an old ideal or an old way of living that is no longer suitable for the new way of your becoming, the new way of life that you're trying to call in, okay? So first and foremost, when we're talking about environment, it could literally mean anything that is outside of you, anything outside of you. So basically your home, everything that you own, your friends, your family, the people that you follow on social media, what you're listening to, what you're reading, the kind of conversations that you're having with people. All of these things are included in environment. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed just yet, because I know it sounds like, oh my God, that is literally everything, Zahra. That's just impossible for me. So don't worry, we're not going to do anything like that. We're going to take it step by step, and you know where you need to begin in your own life. So don't feel like you have to overcome all of it in one go, okay? It's actually, once you get into the habit of doing this, it becomes so easy. And if you're anything like me, it actually becomes quite enjoyable because you can literally feel the weight being lifted off of your shoulders as you're clearing this resistance. You feel lighter. It feels like you can think more clearly. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. Maybe it's, I don't know, a psychological thing. I have no clue. But basically every time I do this, and I do this quite a lot, I always feel more energized, more refreshed, more ready to tackle more and call in more, because I am giving certain things away that is no longer feeding into or supporting this new version of the life that I am creating. Okay, so it is basically everything around you, but again, don't let that intimidate you. Look at it with a sense of adventure, almost like, oh my God, I get to rebuild a lot of these things, but build it the way that I genuinely want it. So look at it with a sense of excitement, almost. What are you coming up here for? You might see Zucchini's tail in a minute, because he feels like he needs to be a part of this. No, you're going to go behind the camera. Are you going to drop the camera? No, you're going to come in front of the camera. I don't know. There he is. You want to lie on my notebooks? Good. He's allowed to. Of course he is. He's my cat, but I'm his pet. I think that's how it goes. Okay. So your whole environment, when we're looking at it as a whole, it actually tells a story. It tells a story about who you are, what kind of life you're living, what you prioritize. It tells a story about you. And that's the thing about our environment that sometimes we ignore for the best part. We think we can kind of just ignore that part of us and then still just become, even when our environment is telling a different story. So we feel like we're not giving it as much attention as it deserves. So if we meet someone and we go into their house, we look at their house because their house will tell a story about them. It tells us about their hobbies. It tells us about their cleanliness. It tells us about whether or not they like material things, if they are a minimalist, if they like antique stuff. It tells us about do they like a lot of technology, do they like animals? Like, it tells us a lot about them. The art or whatever they choose to hang or not hang on their walls tells a lot about them as well. Maybe their religious beliefs. A lot of Muslim households will have a lot of Quran hanging on their walls. Christians might have depictions of Jesus or a lot of crosses hanging on their walls. So, when we meet someone, the clothes they wear, what they choose to accessorize with, their homes, everything about their environment tells us a story about them. And that is obviously the same for you. I'm sure, like, if you're looking around here as well, you're probably like, okay, well, Zara, I see like cats running around, I can hear the dogs. They're very timely. Thank you, Twinkle. I can hear the dogs. I'm looking at the furniture. None of it looks new, so she kind of likes old stuff. She's not an IKEA girly. She's very much like a maybe, I don't know if I want to call it vintage, but certainly used stuff and upcycled stuff. I don't know how many of you sort of like have looked at the stuff behind me to that great length. The other camera angle, you could see my bed. You could see like pretty much everything. In case you were wondering, pretty much everything in my home is upcycled. I don't really like to buy a lot of new stuff. I like to upcycle old stuff. And you can tell that when you come into my home. You can tell that I don't like to have, I don't really like to go out and buy a lot of new stuff, because I don't believe in that kind of waste that specifically home and interior decoration creates. And I know that a lot of people get rid of stuff that is perfectly usable still, and that'll bring me a lot of joy. And I just kind of want to use my money elsewhere and my energy elsewhere. And I like the charm of it. So that's just like, and I do believe that if you come into my home, you get that sense. And, if you look at some of the pictures that I've got hanging, there's no faces on them. I mean, that's not a picture, by the way. That is a drawing, if you're looking at the video or watching the video, because you're like, oh, there's no faces, but like I can see a face in the back. No, that's literally a drawing that my nephew drew of me, and it's super creepy, and I absolutely love it because it looks really scary. So that's like the only face that I've got hanging. But I've got plants, I've got decorative, stuff, but it's like no faces hanging up. Like, I don't know, there's all sorts of things that you can get from that. If you look at my wardrobe, you'll probably also get a sense of that, although I'm still clearing a lot of that out because I'm currently getting into like a decluttering phase around what my clothes look like, but it's a process, so I'm taking it one step at a time. But my wardrobe's going to tell a story as well. Like, I like to be comfortable in the clothes that I wear, but I also want it to be quite feminine, so and quite loose. I think a lot of you will also have noticed if I don't really do a lot of full body videos or anything like that, but like a lot of it is quite loose. It's quite casual. It's not very dressy. I like to be more comfortable. So a lot of the things that I'm showing you is also, telling a story about me and what I prioritize, right? The books that I read, everything like that, the podcasts that I listen to, the music that I listen to, all of those things. And so you need to look at your environment as, what is the story that my environment is saying about me, and what of the environment that is my environment goes against what I'm trying to attract. So a lot of us can live in a lot of clutter, and the clutter doesn't have to be like hoarding clutter or like dirty clutter. It could be that we have a lot of clutter in our wardrobes. That's like a usual, like a very common place. So we like stuff things into a wardrobe, and because we can close it, we feel like, oh, it's okay, I don't have to look at it. Or we stuff it under the bed or in drawers and stuff. And so our wardrobe is really rather cluttered, but we're also trying to call in sort of like perhaps a more sophisticated version of ourselves, that version of ourselves that takes ourselves seriously. And so the image of like this cluttered wardrobe of clothes that are different sizes, because maybe you've been at a higher weight, maybe you've been at a lower weight, or maybe you've got several styles and you're not ready to let go, or you feel like, oh, maybe I'm going to need it again, or whatever. It's not quite inducive to the image that you're trying to call in right now, that version of you that you're stepping into. And so it's kind of, subconsciously telling you something different, even though you're trying to tell yourself something different. Let me try and rephrase that, because I'm a little concerned that I said that in a way that made it difficult to understand. You're trying to tell yourself, I'm a sophisticated person and I care about the way that I dress, right? But your wardrobe is telling you, no, you're messy and you don't know your style, you're confused. And yeah, that's kind of like the story that it's telling you. It could be telling you a lot of other things, right, as well. Like, as I said, like a lot of confusion about style, you're going to gain weight again or something. It's telling you a lot of things that may not be true. You might have a lot of quirky things in your wardrobe that maybe was conducive with the way that you were once upon a time, but that you're not trying to be anymore, but you still haven't let go of that kind of quirky clothes. I've got a lot of quirky clothes, in case you're wondering, like very colorful, like a lot of, like, I don't know. It's just kind of like saying there's nothing wrong with quirky clothes. I love quirky clothes. So while you're trying to tell yourself this new story of who you are now, your environment is working against you. That, my dear, is resistance. So your wardrobe is resisting what you're trying to say, and that subconsciously can make it more difficult for you to start believing and fully living into this new version that you are becoming, right? Or that you've stepped into, but now you're seeing this resistance and it's making it more difficult for you to fully step into it, believing it. Let's look at a different area. So that was wardrobe, for instance. That was just a small example. Let's look at finances, for instance. Yes, this includes finances, your bank accounts, paying off debts, loans, paying bills, feeling like you're always behind. Sit down and budget. If you want to call in more than enough, you need to feel like you already have more than enough. And it's not going to feel like that if your financial environment feels messy. If it feels like something you don't want to look at, if it feels like something you don't want to touch because it feels overwhelming to you just by thinking about it. So what do? We want to align our financial environment with the environment that we want in our mind. And that doesn't necessarily have to be, everything has to be spick and span. It just means there's a plan. It just means there's a plan. We're sitting down and we've got a budget. We know now how to start paying off debt. It means maybe having some direct debit stuff. Is that what it's called? The thing where instead of you paying the bills yourself, that it just comes out automatically. It might mean to look at your finances and cut down on certain monthly subscriptions like Netflix. Maybe you've got like both Netflix and Hulu and Disney, which, by the way, you should already be unsubscribing to Disney anyway, because hello, boycott. But you know, a lot of these things where you're like, oh, I've got subscriptions for all of these things and I'm not using it, cutting those down until you're at a position where you feel like you have a little bit more of that financial clarity to perhaps resubscribe if you feel the need to. Maybe it's a question of, hey, can I jump on your subscription and we can share that. It's just a question of having that overview again. If your finances are in a messy position and you're like, oh, I'm calling in abundance, and everything about your finances is giving you anxiety and basically not screaming abundance, it's screaming lack, then that is resistance. That is active resistance that is blocking you from actually calling in the abundance. Okay. Now let's talk about like a really big one. Attracting a partner, for instance. What is your story environmentally saying about that? And there are so many ways that your environment can be resisting a partner. Now, I've often said, and for all of you who've been here for a while and spoken about partner in the episodes where I've spoken about partners, will have heard the whole like matching underwear theory, you know, shaving your legs, doing those things, even when you're single, taking pride in the way that you look, because a lot of us, we think, oh, when I meet someone, then I'll start sort of like dressing up a little bit more. When I get married, I'll like, you know, not wear my old Snoopy underwear or like the ones that I've, you know, basically been miscolored by, well, you know, we don't need to go into details, but you know, you're a woman, you know exactly what I'm about to say. So I don't need to finish that sentence. But the point is that, you know, there's this whole idea of like, when I become a wife, I'm sorry, I literally just got hair inside of my eye. That's what I get for allowing Zucchini to sit on my desk, which by the way, he did move away again because I didn't give him any attention. So a lot of us have this idea, when I become a wife, then I'll start wearing the matching underwear, then I'll start doing these things because now I'll have someone to do it for. And in reality, there's already this resistance, this block, because you're not doing it. You're not showing up in that way, even for yourself. And yes, that is a resistance. That is a block, because you're literally saying, I'm not her yet, instead of saying, I'm already her. The only thing that's missing is that the person hasn't come into my life yet, but he's on his way. But I'm ready, so that when he shows up, I don't have to go out on a huge old shopping spree and get these things from scratch. I already have it. I'm already that person. I don't have to become, I'm already it. I have already become her. There is no becoming, I'm already it. I'm already wifey material. I don't have to become wifey material. So even something as silly as that. Another thing is looking at your environment, right? If you're thinking about, oh my gosh, when I get married, like I don't have the space for a husband. Like I want him to live in my home because I love my home. So I want him to move into my home rather than me moving into his, or whatever. I don't know. It could be anything. Or maybe you want to move into their place. But you're kind of dreading going through your stuff because you've got a lot of things. Start going through it. Prepare yourself. You will get married. You are going to get married. So start decluttering. Start preparing your physical self and your environment to potentially either have somebody move in or you moving out. You know, why delay it? It will happen. So we're starting to become, I'm already becoming the person who will get married and will either move out and have somebody come into my life. Make the space for the change that you're seeking, right? Same thing about like your personality, your character. If you're holding on to things that you know is not going to be very helpful in a marriage, maybe you've got a lot of trauma, maybe you've got a lot of issues around independence or being stubborn that you know is going to be a problem in your marriage. Seek help, get therapy, get counseling, get coaching. Deal with that now. Don't wait until you found a person and then allowing this to become a problem to fix in your marriage. Deal with it now. So even something like that, right? There was another example that I wanted to use, but I can't remember it right now. Either way, it'll probably come up. If it's important, it'll come up again. Like all of it, of course, it is important. Yes, one more thing. Your friend circles, what you're listening to on social media or watching on social media. There's a lot of anti-male, men are rubbish, women are better conversations out there. And although it's entertaining, I love it. I'll watch it as well. We have to be careful that we're not inundating ourselves with the messages that are so anti-men, that we now no longer believe that good men are out there, that we have a friend who keeps talking crap about being married or having a husband, so it ultimately makes us feel hesitant about potentially going into a partnership or a marriage and experiencing those same things, right? That is part of your environment as well. So look at the messages that you're feeding yourself. Also, that is part of the messaging and part of the resistance. Anywhere essentially where your environment, whether it be a person, a physical part of your environment, a preparation, something that you do or don't do, something that you're holding on to in your mind, any one of those things can create a resistance that makes it harder for us to fully step into and believe in the reality that we are basically stepping into and calling in and attracting and asking Allah for, where we're basically that part of the environment is creating within us the doubt. And the doubt is powerful. It's toxic, like powerful in a toxic way. It's powerful because it makes us stop. It makes us wonder. It makes us question. And it makes us question specifically our worth of having it, and whether or not, like, oh, I'm just faking it, when in reality there's no faking it. You just become it. You just it, or you're not, you know. And what determines whether you're it or not is you choosing and just stepping into it, right? So the more your environment speaks for or against the thing you want, the more success rate you'll have with it. Okay. And many of us are like, oh, but I can just block that out. No, you can't. Many of us are just not strong enough to block that out. We're not there. We're just not there because we haven't been taught how to do that. We'll say, I've got a lot of tough skin or whatever. Like, I'm strong. Yeah, okay, congratulations. A lot of us are. But many of us on that subconscious level will still stay in almost like a fight or flight or in survival mode, because we have to keep pushing through the resistance. So you're fighting against something that should come naturally instead of just allowing it to be, by creating an environment where it is safe for it simply to be, where it is safe for you simply to be in that new reality that you're choosing for yourself. Okay, so as I said, just a little reminder, it really includes, like, our environment really includes a lot, if not everything around us. Okay. And again, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. There's usually going to be like a thing or two that you can immediately, just by me sitting here and sharing this with you, you can think, yeah, you know what, my wardrobe does need a little bit of a declutter, or actually, I haven't really been taking pride in this, that, or the other. Actually, I have, you know, a really messy desk and I really want to write that book. Whatever it might be, I have been listening to a lot of podcasts about why men are crap and I'm trying to attract a partner. You know, something usually will come up. There's Denise DT, who's like a money mindset coach, says, when in doubt, shave your legs. And I love this because you don't have to do something extraordinary immediately, which is why I say don't get overwhelmed by this. Start with something simple. Clear out a desk, clear out a drawer, clear out your winter wardrobe, clear out under your bed, cancel one subscription, pay one debt off. It doesn't have to be like I have to tackle everything at the same time. What we need to do is just get the ball rolling. We're creating a new pathway. We're just saying, look, it is possible. Look, instant win. There's an instant win, and we just want those instant wins, and we want the simplest one first. And then as a result, we can start building on that momentum. Oh, I got one debt paid off, and it was, even though it was the smallest one, I haven't even touched my student debt or my car debt or whatever, and those may be the bigger ones, but I paid off that little one, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, now let's start paying off the next biggest one, or like whatever it might be, right? And so we start looking at it, or I'm just gonna not buy a donut today and I'm going to save that £3 or whatever a donut costs. I don't really know. The point is just the same. Like we take the little wins. I'm going to wear the matching underwear today. I'm going to put in literally me, like for those of you who are watching me on video, I'm wearing my earrings. I don't wear them every day, but when I sit down to record, I want to feel some type of way. So I put on my hoop earrings. It's a little thing, but it makes me feel, and it sounds stupid to you perhaps, but it makes me feel a little bit more accomplished. I'm not sitting here in my pajamas. I actually put on deodorant. I'm not going anywhere from today. I'm literally working from home all day or most of the day. And so I don't have anyone to put the earrings for, but I put the earrings on for you. I put the earrings on, not for you, but because I'm sitting down to record for you. Right? And so putting on the hoop earrings, putting on actual clothes and not just sitting around in my pajamas while I'm working makes me feel a little bit more accomplished. I'm showing up as the version of myself that is a businesswoman, right? An entrepreneur, somebody who coaches women for a living, it's little things. So it's not like I'm sitting down and I have to rearrange my whole house so that I can sit down and record a video. I put on a pair of hoop earrings. Do you see how simple it gets to be? It can be that basic. It can be that simple. Okay. So don't overthink it. And remember that you can build the momentum gradually. Okay. So one thing that, I've now come into, because I actually realized that I was doing this even before I started really understanding manifestation. I remember there was something I can't remember like the exact situation, but something happened in my life. I was still living in London at this point, and I felt so overwhelmed and sad and angry, and I was like, I'm done with this. And one thing, and I had my neighbor Jade, she came up and she sat with me, and I was just kind of like venting to her. And as I was venting, I was like, I don't feel good about this. Like, I feel really annoyed and I don't know what to do. So I started decluttering my makeup, like my vanity desk. And it was such a silly little thing. And I don't remember why I started doing it. I just started doing that because I just felt like, I need like clarity somehow. And so I just sat down and I started clearing out my vanity, and I threw out a bunch of makeup. I cleared out the space. I rearranged the desk a little bit so it felt a little bit better. And by the end of it, I felt amazing. And I felt like, maybe things are not that bad after all. And I didn't realize what I'd done back then, but I just remember being like at the end of the day, and I was like, why did I do that? And why did that feel so good? Like, I didn't understand, but I just felt that like, that felt good. And so it kind of became a habit to me. Like when I feel overwhelmed or when I feel frustrated, I declutter or I clean. And it instantly makes me feel like, it's not so bad after all, because it's a way for me to manage my environment, even if it's just by doing the small things. So that's why I've gotten into this decluttering stage a lot in my life, where I will at least once a month go through something in my house, even if it's just to get rid of one thing or rearrange one place. It means a lot because it's me basically showing myself I am in control of my environment. I can control, even if it's just the little things, but the little thing means a lot. It means it's new, it's change. I'm in control of my environment. I can choose what I choose to do. And it's something like, again, like it doesn't have to be significant. If I don't have anything to declutter in my physical, I'll declutter my following list. I'll go in and look at what podcasts I'm listening to. I will look at the apps I've got on my phone and delete the ones that I'm not using. I will clear through my photos on my phone. Anything like that, it's also a part of the resistance, because it's just stuff that you're just holding on to. And again, anything that's no longer speaking to the next part of your journey, you can get rid of. Alhamdulillah, thank you for your service, but I don't need you anymore. Maybe somebody else can use you. Maybe it just needs to go into trash. Okay, so anything goes. And when you get into the habit of doing this on a regular basis, you'll find that you're actually, number one, it feels better. You'll feel like less stressed and overwhelmed by your environment, but also there's less to do, so you can do it more often and kind of feel on top of your environment, so it doesn't become so overwhelming to you. The thought of having to go in and clear the resistance in your environment feels good. It feels like, okay, I want change. I don't know what to do about the change right now. Okay, let me just go home and see if there's anything I can rearrange. Let me just check my phone and see if there's anything I can declutter. Let me just do this, that, and it's such simple little things. Okay, so that's what I've been doing, and I do it a lot. It is the number one thing whenever I feel like I'm experiencing resistance, whenever I feel like, I don't know how I feel about this thing that I'm trying to manifest or that I'm praying to Allah for. I look at what can I change right now? What can I change right now? And it is usually the easiest things ever. Have a shower and wash your hair and shave your legs. Literally. It sounds ridiculous until you start doing it. So that is my challenge for you at the end of this episode. I want you to start with something simple. Look at something. It could be like, I've wanted to take the rubbish out for like 2 days now and it's still sitting there, the cardboard, the recycling, whatever, right? Do that. I've wanted to, there's this pile of books on this desk. I wanted to move it into my mini library. Do that. I've wanted to delete this app, or I wanted to unfollow this person. Do that. I wanted to have a shower and shave my legs. Do that. I wanted to wax my mustache. Do that. Girl, it doesn't have to be deep. Don't overthink it. Take the first thing that comes to your mind. Do that. And if you feel good, build on it. Do another thing. Or say tomorrow, I'll do another thing. You don't have to do it every day. It's just us building a pathway, clearing the resistance and rewiring our brains in a way that says, I am capable of controlling my environment. I get to choose and I get to become. I get to have this thing and I am worthy of it. Okay? So that is why you need to change your environment now. You need to refurbish, you need to declutter, you need to do all the things. And my darling, I promise you, you're going to feel so much better for it. Your environment tells a story. What is your saying and what do you want it to say? All right, my darling, that is all I have for you today. I hope that there was something beneficial for you in this episode. Don't forget to rate and review the show. I haven't said that in a while, but I love having those reviews because it does help new listeners to know what to expect from this show. Also, and I want to ask you, if you're listening to this, please screen grab or whatever it is and share it on your socials over on IG. Tag me so I can reshare it also as well there. It just helps get the podcast out to new listeners who might also benefit from it, and it helps me out greatly to get new faces in, new ears in, and just sharing the message, because there's plenty of this to go around. Don't you worry. You're not going to miss out or get less of the message if you share it with more people. All right, my darling, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. I will see you, inshallah, on Monday's episode in 1 week from now. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.